Are you like me, approaching the 50s, wondering if I've made enough plans for my retirement, wondering if I have done enough to this point in my life that is going to guarantee me to live financially independent and to retire early? Whatever stage you are in life, sometimes it crosses your mind, am I doing enough and am I ready? Well, look no further and wonder no more. I am going to be going over some practical tips that, with a few tweaks in your lifestyle and to your finances, will have you much more ready, whatever stage you're at. Some stages might require you working just a little bit harder to meet your goal, while at some ages, you might be ahead of the curveball so that you will be more prepared for retirement. But whatever the stage, we have a game plan for you, so stay tuned. Welcome back to the Next Level Life Hacks, where we take the next steps needed to grow towards our financial freedom and success. Thank you, hackers, for clicking on this video. I appreciate your support, but let's dive into this information because I know your time is very valuable to you. Now, the first thing that we're going to be looking at is just to take responsibility of your finances and for your current position in life. You might not be where you want to be, but trust me, you are way more ahead than where you think you are. The mere fact that you clicked on this video today means that you have some appreciation for putting things in place for your future and for your retirement. So you are in the top 5% of persons who are actually taking responsibility for their future. So rest assured and feel more motivated just by that fact alone. All right. Now, what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be blaming no one else but ourselves for what we do from here going forward. If you had a tough upbringing from your parents, hey, our parents did the best that they could with the resources that they had at the time. And if they did not, it's time to forgive them, because now you might very well be a parent and you have your own life to live, and you have the lives of others that you need to look out for. So cut the crap, stop blaming your parents and the surroundings and the environment that you grew up in to this point, but now realize that you have the power to change your surroundings and your future, so take responsibility. So now that we have adjusted the mindset, it's time to start digging deeper. So we move to what is step number 2, and that is to prioritize savings and investments. And in this step, we are going to maximize whatever retirement savings that is at our disposal. If you are an employee like myself, then what I have done is to maximize my 401k or whatever pension plan that might exist in whatever territory that you would reside in. Now, if it is that you have an employer matched to your pension, why are you leaving money on the table? Take advantage of it. And if you can do an IRA, which is an individual retirement account, then by all means go ahead and make sure you are maximizing the amount that you can at this time. Now, I must admit, the younger that you are, if you are in your 30s, then the time is more ideal because you would have to be investing less to get more returns than if you were in your 40s, 50s, 60s. Hey, do not be disheartened. It only means, therefore, that you just have to go a bit more aggressive, but you can still realize the goal of financial independence and a reasonably early retirement. Because, hey, if you're already 60, then what's the sense in saying early retirement? Because you're almost near to retirement age of 65 in most territories. But hey, you can be better off financially by the time you get to 65. So start right now. Now, in this step, I would not fool myself, because I used to fool myself thinking that I had the discipline that once I got paid, that I would be putting the money in the respective investment accounts. That was not so. I am not as disciplined as I think once money gets into my bank account and gets into my hand. So how did I solve that? Automate the savings. Have the deductibles coming from your salary before you get it in your salary account. So have it being automatically transferred to the different investment accounts so that it takes that hassle and that discipline and that decision out of your mind, because most of us are not as disciplined as we would like to believe or would like to be or should be. Now in this section, I really want to drive the point home as to how better off you are the earlier that you start. Now this is ideally for my hackers that might be in your late 20s or your early 30s, because now is the ideal time for you to start so that you can invest actually lower monthly amounts and get higher results or higher interest and yields from your investment. Say for example, you're going to be investing $100 per month up to the age of 60. And let's look at the big difference. If you are 30 years old and this amount is going to be invested for the next 30 years, do you know how much you would have yielded just by that $100 investment each month till you reach age 60? Take a guess. You would have yielded 141,000 US dollars in your total returns on this $100 per month. Let's jump ahead 10 years. If you are 40 years old and you invested this amount, and I should have said we are investing in the index fund, and my favorite one is the S&P 500, and we are going to be giving it an average, say, interest of 8%. It has been trending 10% over the last 10 years, but I'm going to deduct maybe other deductibles, fees, and so on to bring it down to a conservative 8%. Now, putting that $100 for the next 20 years as a 40-year-old, at 60, your returns are going to be significantly less at 57,000 US dollars. Now, look at that. Just the difference in starting at 30 versus 40 years old is a difference of $141,000 versus $57,000. That is why there is value in starting earlier. But guess what? It is not the end of the world. If it is that you are 40, what I would do is that I would just invest more. So it only means that you would double your effort in terms of the monthly amount. And by reason of nature, you would normally be earning more as a 40-year-old than a 30-year-old. Therefore, you should have more disposable income that you can double or triple the amount that you are investing so that you can catch up to that 30-year-old. So do not despair. And that is the underlying message that I would like to pass on to you today. Step number 3 is surround yourself with the right people. And I should have learned this before in my earlier years, because if I had taken the time to make sure that I had persons that I could pull from, because it is always said that if you are the smartest one of your bunch of friends, then something is wrong and you need to move. And I was always the one that everyone kept pulling from, giving advice, giving tips and tricks. But I had no one that I could pull from as a mentor, as a coach, as an advisor. Therefore, my advice to you is that look at who persons are that are surrounding you and make sure there is someone that has more experience, more knowledge in the areas that you would like to grow into. So if you would like to go into entrepreneurship, business venture, or investing, there should be someone in your circle that can give you advice as to what are the best practices in going into a business or for investing. That way you shorten and you hack the learning curve, because learning from someone who has already done it, there's nothing better than experience to guide you. So therefore you can cut the line, shortcut the process, learn from other person's mistakes, and get the best practices and advice so that you could reach to the goal even faster than they did. Now, hack number 4 is going to be to reduce debt by any means possible. Now, you're going to be saving more, but you need to reduce your debts. My biggest mistake in my 20s and 30s was to keep on incurring debt. As I completed, or even sometimes before I completed making a car loan payment or paying off for a vehicle, I took out a more expensive vehicle. Each time my salary increased, I got an additional expense that would wipe out that increase. Sometimes or oftentimes leaving me worse off than I was before I got the salary increase. So therefore, try to reduce your debts as much as possible. Now, I would focus on those debts that have the higher interest rates so that you can pay off those and ease yourself of paying out that extra money in terms of interest. And in these debts, I would start off with the credit cards first. And if you have your student loans, those would be my focus as well. Get rid of them as quickly as possible because their interest rates, especially for the credit cards, tend to be a little bit higher than what you would like them to be. Now, there are different methods of paying off these. There is the snowball effect or the avalanche effect. Whichever one you choose, choose one and get your debts eliminated as quickly as you possibly can. Now, if it is that you have several debts that you need to pay off and you're a little bit confused as to which one to approach, or they all have high interest rates, one good strategy is to consolidate those debts. Many financial institutions are willing to combine these debts, give you one lump sum payment, pay off to the different financial institutions, and then you are left with just one monthly payment that you can more easily afford. And a lot of the times, those consolidated debts, the interest rates for them are much lower than the individual debts that you have had running for a period. And while you are doing this, the next best thing to do, and do not take it lightly, is to create a budget. Start tracking your income and your expenses. And that is how you will get things under control and they can be easily managed. You will clearly see where it is that your money is going to and areas in which that you can cut back and realize significant savings. One such way as well is your subscriptions, because as we are younger and we're realizing different things, we tend to oversubscribe to different services that we could easily realize a savings on by eliminating and canceling some of these subscriptions. One main one is that gym subscription that we enrolled our membership for the gym and we never attend. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to stop at number 5, which is going to be the last one. And it's pretty important, so I need to spend a little time longer on it. And that is, stop trying to look rich rather than building your wealth. Do you ever realize that the wealthiest persons always look not as rich as the poorer persons? Why is it that poor persons or persons who are low income focus so much on brands? Whether it be your brand of clothing or your brand of cars, why do we waste so much money on those things when they are not significant? Do you know that research shows that 5 to 10% of our time is spent in a motor car, yet we tend to spend up to 75% of our income on maintaining and paying for that same motor vehicle? A motor vehicle is just for taking us from point A to point B. We most times are just transported to and from work in that motor vehicle, yet we have a burden on the monthly payment for that vehicle. Look at clothing. When you spend on those designer brands, sometimes you can only wear it once because it is so flashy and it is so loud that it is so well known and you are photographed in it that you cannot wear it anywhere else. So that exorbitant amount that you spent on it can only be worn once or used once. So what's the sense? Focus more on a minimalistic lifestyle, and that is what I should have done in my 20s and 30s rather than trying to keep up with the Joneses and overspending on vehicle or on clothing. At the end of the day, it is not worth it. Once again, this is where a budget comes in very handy and very practical. Start looking at what you're overspending on. Look at the amount that you're spending on clothing, dining out, different experiences that you could cut costs on. Start preparing meals more at home, even bringing them to school or to work, so that you can save on the cost of fast food out in the industry. Now, the other thing is that you can cut back, as I mentioned before, on certain subscriptions that you have just to appear as if you're keeping up with the Joneses, because hey, it is better to famine now and feast later than to feast now and famine later in your retirement years. It is best the younger that you are that you cut back very strongly on certain things that are unnecessary while you aggressively save and invest, so that when you get later on to your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you can live much more comfortably than others. It is said, now you need to live as others won't or don't, so that later on you can live as others don't. And that's it so far. 5 of the 10 practical steps that we can take any stage in life so that we can be more financially independent and to retire early. Join me in the next video where I go over the other 5 tactics or hacks that we can look into that can have us saving more. Very practical steps. So stay tuned for the next video. See you then.